My guests today are Heather Ferguson, the Executive Director of Common Cause New Mexico, and Dr. Gabriel Sanchez, Professor of Political Science at UNM. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Very welcome. Election Day is Tuesday, June 2nd, but between absentee ballots and early voting, it's been going on for a while now during a pandemic in which we're supposed to be staying at home and social distancing. It's pretty crazy. Heather, one thing is that there are far fewer places to vote in this election. In Sandoval County, for example, they were supposed to have 21 early vote centers and they knocked it down to 11. How is this impacting people's ability to vote?
Well, Sandoval County is a special situation. You not only have the decrease of the amount of voting centers, which is what is legally required for the minimum legal requirement for the population out in that area, but to enhance that, Sandoval County also services 7 tribes, pueblos, and nations. And so for instance, for the Zia Pueblo that's out there, typically there would be at least several voting sites, early day voting sites, as well as election day voting sites that would be within the Zia Pueblo. However, due to the public health crisis and the tribal official orders, only residents are allowed to go into the Zia Pueblo. And so they do not have any on-site voting locations, which will therefore force the folks who don't already have an absentee ballot to have to go to an outside location. Bernalillo High School, for example, is one of the nearest locations that they can go to, and they'll have to vote in person.
And that's half an hour away?
I believe so, yeah. And it's compounded by the fact that their mail service was also interrupted, because since the mail carriers couldn't gain access to the post boxes that are on the Pueblo, their mail was then moved to a mailbox that is outside of the Pueblo, where they have to go retrieve their mail and drop things off to be mailed. So you build in another inherent delay for the absentee ballot process there. That wasn't there before we had to encounter the issues with the pandemic.
And just to clarify, the issue is with the early vote centers, the law says that anyone who lives in that county, anyone who lives in Sandoval County, in Rio Rancho or anywhere, needs to be able to vote at any of the convenience centers. So if Zia or Cochiti or San Felipe are closed, and Santa Ana, those are all in Sandoval County, I think, then they're not allowing anyone from the county to come in. And that's why they said some of them, they didn't want early vote centers. It's a tension between trying to keep your community safe and promote voting. And we're kind of stuck in the middle, aren't we?
It is, but also state law requires that anyone can access a voting site. And so they also, following state law, could not put the early voting sites or the election day voting sites inside the Pueblo, where only residents of the Pueblo would be able to access those voting sites.
Right. Gabe, you've done some research, or you're familiar with it, I hope, on what happens when there are fewer polling sites. What does that do to turnout? Do way fewer people vote?
Yeah, great question. I think you provided really the context in which we're operating, which is on one hand, advancing public health protocols, which is incredibly important, but the other, opening up access to practice democracy. And I think the literature in political science makes pretty clear, anytime you increase the costs associated with voting, i.e. figuring out where can I vote and traveling further to be able to vote, you do see a decrease in turnout. That's absolutely 100% clear. However, I'm a little less worried in this context during a primary than I would be in the general election for a couple of reasons. People always forget about this. We're really talking about 2 different electorates. During the primary, much more highly informed voters, by definition, much more partisan voters. Those folks are much more likely to turn out and go through the steps of figuring out how to circumvent some of these obstacles, like not having as many polling locations. If we're talking about the same context in the fall, I definitely would suggest much greater drop in turnout. So will it be real? And something that we could actually measure in terms of a decrease in turnout? Absolutely. And unfortunately, it's often low resource voters, right? Particularly if we're talking about racial and ethnic minorities, younger voters, lower income voters. Those are the folks where you're going to see the most marked impact on turnout.
Heather, absentee voting is up big. It's up 325% over the 2016 primary. 3 times as many people have voted by mail in this primary than have voted early in person. A lot of people like it. I like it. I voted absentee this year just to check it out, and I didn't really want to leave my house. I loved it. I haven't done it in decades, but I really enjoyed having the time to kind of sit and think about it and look things up. But I'm not every voter, and I recognize that. What other kinds of problems are you seeing with voting by mail? You mentioned Zia Pueblo, where they were not able to get their mail. I know that although the Postal Service was not able to get into Zia, I talked to the folks at Kiwa, Santo Domingo, and they told me they were letting mail trucks through, but they had to go through a screening process, and that's fine, although it causes some delays. Are you seeing delays?
We're seeing delays across the state, though, and what I've been able to see so far from at least some of the personal stories that we've been gathering through the election protection program that we run is that the delays are actually happening with the Postal Service. They're not delays coming out of the county clerk's office. The county clerk's offices are showing that they have, gotten things out into the mail. We're not dealing with out-of-state third-party vendors, which I know several states are actually dealing with. Georgia, for one, actually is getting their absentee ballots mailed to them from a third-party printer in Arizona. So we're not even dealing with an interstate problem. We're dealing with just the Postal Service and how they operate here in New Mexico. And that's been causing significant delays. My ballot alone took 9 days to get from the county clerk's office in downtown Albuquerque to my home up in the Heights.
How do you know it took 9 days?
So when you go onto the Secretary of State's website, you can actually see what day they had mailed your ballot. And I happened to request mine extra early just so I would be in the queue. But it'll show you when it got mailed so that you can actually track, of course, checking your mail every day and see when it got there. I have other stories from Santa Fe and some other places where it's taken 2 weeks.
And I talked to the San Juan County clerk this week who told me they are required to send those out the day they get them, I think. So it's not like they're sitting there, we don't think. They're pushing them out, but for a variety of reasons, having trouble with the mail. Gabe, you have looked at how voting by mail impacts certain communities, particularly Native American communities. What have you found?
Well, I think in general, when we're thinking about racial and ethnic communities, for a number of reasons, racial and ethnic minorities tend to prefer to vote in person. Just think about generations of folks that didn't have access to that right, how much energy went into that. And so somewhat the symbolism of being able to go with your community to vote in person is part of the issue. The other is information, right? Recognizing that minorities, particularly here in New Mexico, move and change addresses to a much greater extent than white eligible voters do. All that just adds more complication and more cost associated with participating through the mail. What I'm actually seeing here in New Mexico, which is reflective of our national polling, early numbers suggest that Republicans in the state have been more likely to vote in person early, Democrats more likely to vote by mail. I think that's largely driven by messaging coming out of the White House, which suggests either fraud is a problem with mail-based voting, or that COVID really isn't as something scary to be worried about as many other folks do. Our polling suggests naturally Democrats are much more likely to be worried about getting sick from going to vote in person than Republicans are. So I think that's being reflected in the early numbers. And we'll see if that has any implications for actual election outcomes as we start to tabulate things on Tuesday. I'll tell everybody, we're not going to have election results in some of these tight races Tuesday night. Given everything you've heard already about the time lag and all those things, I guarantee you on any of these tight races, they're going to be counting some of those mail ballots. Again, as you noted, historic mail use voting in the state of New Mexico, that's going to take longer to tabulate. So it's going to give us at least a little bit more to talk about us politicos into Wednesday and Thursday.
And it's so many more. I think we've had 100,000 people vote absentee so far, and it's like 3 times what we saw last time. So, but they are allowed to start counting early, aren't they, Heather?
Well, not in the way that they are tabulating and counting votes. No, they are able to set aside,
open them up.
Right. And so that's a key issue as well. And to what Professor Sanchez was saying about the delays that are put in here, right now also in our current state law, you can what's called adjudicate your ballot. So if your ballot has an issue, there's a signature missing, you have a chance to remedy your ballot up into the county canvas. But now also in the law, you can adjudicate your ballot up to the state canvass if you want to go in there and remedy your ballot and have it still be counted for this election. And so that can build in a lot more delays when you're dealing, especially with a very close race. They're not going to want to call it.
Heather Ferguson and Gabriel Sanchez, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Be safe, be healthy.